I had just settled in for a quiet evening when my phone buzzed with an alert from my security system. Motion detected. Backyard. Frowning, I pulled up the live feed from my CCTV camera, and what I saw made my blood boil. Karen. She was strutting through my backyard like she owned the place, poking at my patio furniture, inspecting my grill, and even measuring my fence with a tape measure. I threw on my shoes and stormed outside. "Karen, what the hell are you doing in my yard?" I demanded. She turned, completely unfazed, as if she had every right to be there.
Oh, don't be so dramatic. I'm just making sure your property meets HOA standards. This fence looks too high, and your furniture is way too close to the property line. We can't have the neighborhood looking like a mess.
She snapped with a dismissive wave of her hand. I clenched my fists. "Karen, this is private property. You can't just waltz in here." She rolled her eyes and replied,
Actually, I can. The HOA has the right to inspect yards to maintain the community aesthetic.
I pointed to the security camera mounted above my back door, its red light blinking. "You just broke into my yard and it's all on camera." Karen paled for a moment, then scoffed.
Oh, please, who's going to care? I'm looking out for the community. You should be thanking me.
I didn't bother arguing further. Instead, I pulled out my phone and dialed. "Yeah, I need to report a trespasser on my property." 15 minutes later, a police car pulled up, red and blue lights flashing against the night. A tall officer stepped out, adjusting his belt. "All right, what's going on here?" he asked as he surveyed the scene. Before I could speak, Karen rushed forward, her voice high with feigned urgency.
Officer, thank God you're here. This man is refusing to comply with HOA guidelines. His fence is too high, and his backyard is lowering our property values.
The officer raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, are you saying you entered his property without permission?" She scoffed.
It's not trespassing if it's for the good of the community.
I then pulled up the CCTV footage on my phone and showed it to the officer, who watched as Karen opened my gate and began snooping around. Sighing, the officer pulled out his notepad. "Ma'am, you're being cited for trespassing." Karen's jaw dropped.
You can't be serious. I was doing my duty.
The officer replied, "Your duty just got you a fine, and if you step on this property again, you'll be arrested for criminal trespassing." Karen stood there, speechless, as I grinned and waved goodbye while the officer returned to his patrol car. The next day at the HOA meeting, murmurs of disbelief filled the room. Neighbors recounted the incident, shaking their heads at Karen's audacity. Even the HOA president offered a formal apology for the disturbance. Later that afternoon, while reviewing the incident on my security feed, a neighbor stopped by. "Man, that was unreal. I can't believe Karen thought she had the right to invade your property," he said. I replied, "Some people just need a reality check." As evening fell, I received a text from the HOA board confirming that Karen had been removed from her position as head of the HOA Violations Committee and was issued an official warning. For the next few days, Karen avoided me completely, but that didn't last long. A few evenings later, I heard a loud banging on my door. I checked the peephole inside. Karen. I opened it just a crack. "What do you want, Karen?" She was fuming.
Do you have any idea what you've done? I got fined! And now the HOA is considering removing me from my committee. All because you couldn't handle a simple yard inspection.
I crossed my arms. "No, Karen. You got fined because you trespassed on my property and acted like you were above the law. Maybe next time, you'll think twice before breaking into someone's yard." She let out a frustrated growl.
You're ruining this neighborhood.
I chuckled. "Funny. I was about to say the same thing about you." Karen stormed off, and from that day forward, she never tried to enforce another imaginary rule again.